My name is Craig Ganssle. I'm the founder and CEO of Farmwave, and we've built an autonomous harvest loss system that uses cameras and vision-based AI to detect loss in real time and deliver those real results in the cab in real time without ever having to stop.
Excellent. I love how succinct your value proposition is. It's like it's inherently obvious what you're doing and why you're doing it. And if for anybody, hearing that still doesn't understand, you can go in and in one picture, you could see what a camera took a photograph of, and it's actual corn coming off of a combine, not going where you want it to go. How does the operator of the combine know that they've reached the optimal settings to minimize that loss? How do they know can they really get to zero, or do they, at some point, does the system tell them okay, that's really the optimal amount and you're going to lose some, but that's okay?
Yeah, I don't think anyone will ever get to zero. I think that's probably impossible. And to be transparent, we don't necessarily detect every single kernel, right? If it's underneath some mog or trash or corn stalk or something, we're not going to see it. It's not X-ray vision. But the operator can set in Farmwave thresholds for what is the loss that they're willing to allow. And we do it by number of kernels, right? And so we have green, yellow, red zone. So green is 0 to 9, yellow is 10 to 19, and anything over 20 is red. But they can change that to whatever they want. And as they're going along, if it counts over 20 kernels, it's going to spike up into that red zone and alert them. And they'll be like, if the next picture in the next 3 seconds takes another one, they'll be like, oh, it's continuously happening. Where is it coming from on the machine? Which is the other piece that we bring, right? Is it the machine? Is it off the left side of the header, the right side of the header? Where is it coming from? And we tell them that, and then they can make adjustments accordingly. So they can set their threshold, whether they're just doing, grain or soybeans or food grade soybeans. We got one of our customers, he does food grade soybeans. And so he runs really slow. He wants to allow almost no loss, cracks and stuff like that. He gets dinged for. So they can set that threshold to, all for each camera. They can set it for the left side of the header or the right and the rear independently.
Gotcha. Okay. And what is the trade-off speed? If you're willing to allow a little bit more loss, maybe you can go a little faster. Is that typically the trade-off they're thinking about there?
It most often, yes. We had a customer last year. He called me up and he said he just wanted to get soybeans done so he could get into corn. And he called me up. He said, I got to tell you, this Farmwave was great. It told me that I had to stay under 7 miles per hour to minimize my loss. So it's 7 miles per hour. How fast are you going? He's like, well, I'm trying to get this done. I got to get into corn. He's like, so if I stay 6 miles an hour, just creep up on 6.5, I got a lot less loss than if I'm doing 7. I'm like, well, yeah, I would think so, right? So speed is definitely the one that people think of the most, but it could be a multitude of things, from changing the reel speed, change the pitch of the head, the height of the head, fan speed, how they're threshing, all that kind of stuff depends on the crop and where it's coming from on the machine. But speed is definitely the one, depending on conditions, rain's coming or whatever the case may be, they just they want to get it done. And the sort of the force multiplier value add is we allow them to do that without having to stop and get out. Because they normally, the hand count method is stop, get out, and do their count. But then they got to get back in, go a little bit and stop again to see if that, whatever they fixed, and changed actually made a difference. If it didn't, then they have to do it again and again. And that stopping can take hours off a day if you're doing it right and taking the time to do all those counts. And a lot of people, they don't do it, unfortunately, right? The time is against them and many other factors, and they just kind of go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're pressed for time and you're trying to get beans done so you can get to corn, or trying to beat a storm, I mean, doing that at all is a big pain, but doing it right probably is just too unrealistic. So no, very cool. And I know corn and beans you've mentioned. Are you doing the harvest loss in other crops as well?
We are. This year we launched wheat, pinto beans, cotton, peanuts, and we're just about to start collecting data on canola and barley. We wanted to have that ready for some of the early people this year. But one of the challenges with AI is we need to collect data to train the models. Yeah. So you go, who's harvesting canola right now in the world? Where can we go get the data? And at the time of year, this was like in the winter, it's like, well, nobody. So we have to wait until somebody is harvesting it and then try to, see if they can let us collect data, and then we can build the models for that. So we're doing that now. It just took a little bit of time, but in cotton and peanuts, there is no current loss detection. There's nothing exists.
Wow.
They don't have strike plates. They don't use drop pans. So this is kind of new for those industries, and they're a little bit, not quite the volume of the row crops, but a little bit higher value in some ways.